Alright, so some important things to learn before getting into detailing is how paint works. So there's 4 basic levels to every car paint. The very bottom is the metal, just the metal of the car or the plastic bumper before having any primer or paint or anything. So this is just what it comes like from the factory, and like here's some examples right here. Here we have like a Volkswagen Bug and an older rat rod looking car. So these are examples of cars that are just at the bare metal that haven't been primered or anything yet. So some people actually like this look and keep it. Like as you can see on this rat rod, it's like actually completed. The Volkswagen Bug is just being prepped for paint, it looks like. So the next level on top of the base, on the metal, is the primer. And a primer, what it does is it smooths out the car and fills in any little like creases in the metal. So it smooths it out, and it also helps the paint stick to the car. So if you paint it just on the bare metal, it wouldn't stick as good if you did a layer of primer. So yeah, so pretty much every single car has primer underneath it. So here's some examples of primer. They have a lot of different color types of primer, and each one does a different thing. So they have like the gray, the black, and they have like this bronzish color. So yeah, so then on top of the primer, you would do your base coat or your color coat. And this is like obviously what color you want your car to be. So you can pick any color you want, and as you can see, they aren't shiny yet. They have like a matte look to them. That's because they don't have a clear coat yet. And then, so here's some examples of just cars with base coat, no clear coat on them. So yeah, those are right here. And then after you do your base coat, and then you can do more than one base coat. A lot of people do different shades like on top of each other, and gives it like a unique look. And then on top you spray your clear coat. And what a clear coat is it's the thing that gives a car its shine. It's really reflective and shiny, and what it does is it also protects the paint from like UV rays, and also fading from the UV rays, and then it also protects from like bugs and like other harsh elements. But one bad thing is that clear coat can fail, so yeah, I'll go into that more later. But here's some examples of some cars that have a fresh coat of clear. As you can see, they're very shiny. Alright, so now that we know a little bit more about paint and the different levels, I can go into what happens to each level in terms of like caring for it. So obviously the topmost is the clear coat, which is the protective layer to protect the base coat and the primer and the metal and everything. And it also protects against UV. But what can happen in that clear coat if not cared for properly is it can get oxidized, which right here is a picture of oxidized paint. It's where it actually just fails and starts to peel up due to not having protective layers on it, because you also have to protect the clear coat, and then also just a lot of exposure to harsh elements like the sun can really eat up the clear coat. And certain manufacturers like Honda is notorious for having awful paint, and they just have terrible clear coats, and a lot of it fail within a couple years of the car being brand new, and they have to go get it like repainted under warranty. Other brands such as like GM, General Motors, Chevy, GMC have a really hard paint, and it's a really good quality paint. So in this diagram you can see that like certain scratches go deeper, and so it's a lot harder to fix those. I'll go more into that later with about sanding and polishing and stuff. But I wanted to look at like oxidation and stuff that happens with the clear coat. Stains, which I'll show a picture right here. This is an example of stains which happens with clear coat. Also, another thing that really harms clear coat is bird poop, because it has acid in it and can actually etch the paint. So yeah, I'll show you that. And then clear coat scratches, which are like really minor surface scratches, but they can really make your paint just look awful. So yeah, I'm going to show those, and yeah. Okay, now I want to go into what can happen to the clear coat. So the most common 2 things that happen is water spots, which is etching. As you can see here, hard water, such as water in Merced. The water in Merced has a lot of minerals and like iron deposits in it. And if you let that dry on your paint, it'll actually etch the paint and make it look like this, which it actually eats up into the clear coat, and it leaves this awful looking paint. So I'm going to go over some ways to avoid those, but here's some pictures of that. And then another really common thing that happens to the clear coat is swirl marks. Swirl marks, as you can see here, ruin the finish, and what they are is a bunch of tiny micro or nano, really small scratches in the paint, which refract light, and you can especially see them on very dark cars such as blacks and dark grays, dark blues, dark greens, and it refracts the light so you can see all those scratches, and it really makes it look bad. Whites hide it a little bit better, but you can still see it in different angles of lighting. So yeah, so I just wanted to go over those. Okay, so now that we talked about the types of issues with paint, such as swirl marks, water spots, here's a chart of some of them. So we have swirl mark, or it's called marring, random deep marring, deep scratching, water acid etching, and buffer marks and hologramming, which I'm going to go into right now. So down below each of them, you can see the clear coat, the base coat, and the primer coat, and then down below that's the bare metal. You can see how deep each of those issues goes. So how to fix them is you would have to go to the lowest point that that issue goes to. Okay, so like let's say you have some water etching and some deep scratching. Okay, so clearly the deep scratching is going way below the watermarks, so you'd have to take it to that level to get rid of the issues. If you only took it to the watermarks, then those deep scratches would still be there. But you have to be careful because you don't want to take too much paint off, because you only have so much paint to work with, clear coat and stuff. Otherwise, if you get all that clear coat gone, you have no clear coat and you'd have to get it repainted. So it should be left to professionals, or if you know what you're doing, which there's a lot to learn. So before you do anything, you need to find out what your car needs. Most of the time it'll be a clay bar and a compound polish. There is things like wet sanding, which actually is you take a sandpaper, or a fine sandpaper, sand the entire car, and that gets everything down to a perfectly fine level. And then you would have to follow with a finer sandpaper, and then you'd have to compound it, and it's a lot of work. But it gets rid of stuff such as like factory orange peel, which is this. It's just like a way the paint is. Like every car has it, except very, very high-end cars, or custom paint jobs possibly, but most cars have factory orange peel. And so the first thing you're going to need to do is clay a car, which claying a car gets rid of all the surface contaminants, as you can see by this chart right here. The clay bar actually gets rid of surface contaminants that washing it wouldn't. And if you need to find out if your car needs to be clayed, get a sandwich bag, put your hand in it, and then rub it over the surface of your car. And if it's rough, like after you just washed it, you need to clay your car. You should clay it every 6 months to a year. That's what people suggest. And then what clay is, it looks like a piece of clay. That's exactly what it is. It's, as you can see right here, it's a little piece of clay. And then what you do is you get a lubricant and rub it all over your paint, and it actually eats up all the surface contaminants and absorbs it into the clay. So yeah. Okay, so after claying, you're going to need to polish your car with a compound. Now there's 3 types of polishers. This is polisher number 1. This is just called an orbital polisher. It's like 30 bucks at Walmart or a local hardware store. And all it does is spin in a circle with really low power, and all it's good for is like spreading a wax. It won't correct anything. All it is good for applying stuff. That's really the only thing it's used for. I don't even use one. I don't own one. This is a dual action polisher. There's a Roops 21. This is the one I personally have. It's a large throw orbital polisher. It's called a dual action. It rotates in a circle and also oscillates in an oval. So it gets a huge area, and it has a lot of power to actually bite down in the paint and safely remove the imperfections. And then this here's a rotary polisher. A rotary polisher just spins in a single circle, but it has a very powerful motor in it that if you hold it in one spot too long at too high of a speed, it'll actually burn through your clear coat, burn through your paint, burn through your primer all the way down to the bare metal. They're really dangerous, and you need to know how to learn use them. And also, these types of polishers also leave things called holograms, which this type of polisher, it actually makes scratches to remove scratches. And the reason it does that is because it has a lot of power, and to get really deep scratches that like a dual action might not be able to, even though they can do a lot. Rotaries get down deep, and they produce these things called holograms, which you can see right here. So after you use a rotary, you have to follow up actually with a dual action to get a perfect result. Okay, and then so after you're done, or once you find a polisher, you have to use a cutting compound, which is a bunch of different ones out there, and you have to use a right pad to cut it to a specific level. I won't go into that because there's a lot more to that, but anyway, yeah, there's a lot of cutting polishes. Some are more aggressive than others to get down deep, and some are less aggressive, but you want to go for the least aggressive first. So then once you finally have your paint perfect, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to seal it. And what a sealant does is it adds as like a second clear coat almost. It's a protectant to protect all what you just did. And it protects it from rain, UV. High quality ones last a couple years. And they have newer technology called nano coatings, which are like a really hard coating that protects it, and they last a long time. And they repel water really well, and they give it a nice shine. So that's one thing. All this polishing and stuff would be useless without a good sealant on top. So yeah.
Alright, so now I'm in my garage with all my detailing stuff, and I want to go over what to do and what not to do in terms of products used. Okay, so as you saw, we went over the swirl marks, which are all those micro marring or a lot of little scratches in the paint. And so what causes those is improper washing and drying techniques. So right here I have a terry cloth cotton wash mitt, the same thing, a towel, another towel. Okay, so never use these on your paint. These are old school, what they did back in the day before there was all this science and stuff. And they used to use this stuff, and what it does is it actually scratches your paint. It's too rough, and it will make your paint look worse than if you just left it. So what I use this stuff on, I have it, I use these in like the fender wells where there's no paint to clean out the fenders. I use these like to clean the engine bay, clean the carpets, stuff like that. Just lay them down on the ground so I can lay on them. I never use them on the paint. Same with these. So what you want to do is, this is a high quality microfiber wash mitt. It's very soft and plush, and it doesn't scratch your paint. So you need one of those. And then also you want high quality microfiber towels. So this is an actual specific drying towel for that. And then there's a bunch of different types. Like they have polyester and polyamide, which is a blend of microfiber. Some does drying, some does like wax buffing and stuff. So yeah, so you just need a there's a lot into that, but the basic overview is use only microfiber on your paint. Use this stuff where you don't want scratches. So this is my setup. Like, here's just my terry cloths in this bin. Here's just microfibers for like small stuff. I have my drying microfibers in here. So that's just for drying. Here's my wax towels for buffing off waxes and sealants. Here's my wash mitts and stuff. Like I have another one of those. I have another one of the microfiber. This is a bug tar thing. You want to be careful with these because these can scratch if you don't know how to use them properly. I'd stay away from those. So yeah, that's that. And then I have all my random brushes and stuff. So this is like a high level setup. So I don't expect anyone to have this kind of stuff. Applicator pads, buffing pads, and then yeah. So then I have all my stuff set up over here. One thing you should really invest in is some higher quality car wash stuff. So like here's some older Meguiar stuff that I don't really use. This was like $10. You can pick it up at Walmart. So that's like a better quality one that you can use. Now I use Chemical Guys. I have a bunch of their washes, as you can see, all these tubs. They're very high quality washes. So I don't expect everyone to just go out and spend a bunch of money, but like if you want to pick up a nice wash at Walmart, those work good. You should be spending around $8-9 on one of these. The cheaper ones are more watered down than soap, and they actually won't help at all. Better off just washing it with water. One thing you do want to stay away from is dish soap. Dish soap will actually strip your paint of like any wax or sealant that's on there, and you just don't use dish soap. Dish soap is bad. It's made to strip grease off pots and pans. You don't want that on your car. So yeah, I'd recommend picking up like an actual car wash. So yeah, that's that.
Also, never go to the local car washes and pay for these things or pay for the stall where they have those brushes. Those brushes are covered in dirt and they're not soft, and all they do is ruin your paint and scratch them. So don't do that and buy some good stuff.
Alright, so the next thing you're going to need is buckets. So I have 4 buckets that I've accumulated over my detailing career. Any 5-gallon pickle bucket will work. This is a 5-gallon. I think these are like 4.5. Just any bucket will work. But what you need to have in them are these. These are called grit guards. Everyone should use one of these. So what they do is you put them in there, and when you're washing, when you go to rinse your wash mitt or brush or whatever, the dirt will fall below and get trapped underneath and won't be able to come back up in your water, so it'll avoid scratches, because dirt's actually like a sand or a sandpaper. Imagine rubbing that on your paint, it's going to scratch, so you want to avoid that. So everyone should use a 2-bucket method, which what that is you have a nice here, I'll use these two. So what you're going to want to have is 2 buckets. Okay, what I do actually 2 grit guards per bucket, just to be double safe. So I have a soap bucket and a fresh bucket. So say you're just starting, you have your soap bucket, and here you have your wash mitt. You go and wash your car. You don't want to go and put all that dirt back into your soap bucket. So what you need to do first is rinse it in the fresh water bucket. So what you do is you put your mitt in there, rub it. You can actually take a grit guard out, rub it on here, wring it out on the ground, and then you would go back in your soap bucket so you don't contaminate your good bucket, and that'll help reduce scratches. So yeah. Alright, so tip number 1 I showed you how to reduce swirl marks. Now I'm going to teach you how to reduce watermarks. So how to reduce watermarks, water spots, the etching in the paint. Don't wash it in direct sunlight. Don't wash it when it's hot out. Wake up early in the morning and wash it when it's cool, or late at night when it's cooled down. I recommend the morning because it's actually cooler. So yeah, so I'd recommend, if you have harsh water like in Merced, you need to use your timing, like do it in the morning, because if you do it in the day, you're going to get water spots everywhere. Another way to help reduce water spots is this filter. So what this is it's actually a shower filter. You're supposed to put it on your shower, but I made it to work for a water faucet. So actually what it is you screw it onto the water faucet, and then it has a filter inside, and it filters the water to take out all those harsh minerals, and then you screw the hose onto this end right here. Alright, so step number 1 to washing a car. Start with the wheels first. Okay, so I have everything I need here to do my wheels. I have my bucket. You only need 1 bucket when you're doing wheels. I have a degreaser, diluted 1-to-1. You can pick up any wheel cleaner. I just use a degreaser because it works really well with like brake dust and a lot of the grease that brakes produce. And then I also use a citrus based cleaner, soap. I use that in my bucket, and then I spray this direct on the wheel. I have a boar's hair brush, which is really soft, so I can actually clean in the lug nuts, clean around the wheel, won't scratch. And then I have this wheel brush, so it lets you get in the spokes, and you can actually bend it, and you can get behind the spokes. So this is actually really helpful for cleaning in the barrels. The barrels is inside of the wheel. So yeah, and then I have my 2 grit guards, which I put in the bucket. So step number 1, clean out the bucket. Step number 2, put your grit guards in the bucket. Okay. Step Step number 3, fill up the bucket with water. Okay, I forgot to mention this. This is for cleaning the tires. Just another brush. Okay, so now that the bucket, alright, so my battery died. Okay, so now that the bucket is filled with water, as you can see, have my brushes in there. So next you're gonna want to use your soap. As I said, I use my Citrus Chemical Guys washing gloss. It's a high base cleaner, and it can actually strip wax off your car. You can use any soap. So yeah, so then I'm gonna pour a little bit of this in there. You don't need that much, it's really concentrated. So yeah, that's that. Put that to the side. So yeah, it's important to fill up your bucket with water first and then put the soap in, because if you're trying to put the soap in and then fill it up, you're going to get more foam and bubbles than anything. So you want to fill it up with water, and then you put your soap in, and then you can put your water in there, get the soap, and then do that. Okay, so now I have my degreaser. It's just a degreaser diluted 1-to-1. So what you're going to want to do is spray your wheel and the tire also. Get the whole thing. Get in the barrel. The barrel is everything back here. Get in the lug nuts. Yeah, there we go. Okay, then you're going to want to let it sit. Let it work. Do not let degreaser dry, and also don't get the degreaser on the paint of the car. It can actually harm the paint, and if it dries, it'll leave weird marks. So then let that sit. Get your handy dandy bucket. Okay, what I like to do first, get your brush nice and soapy like this, and then I start on the actual tire, just like that. You can see all the dirt and stuff coming off. Dunk it again. Just keep going until it starts coming out clean. Okay, like that. Okay, then what I do is I get my stiffy brush, and then I actually go in the back of the spokes like this. Get all the dirt out in the barrels and all the brake dust. Always work from the top, work your way to the outsides, and then do the bottom last, because that's where all the dirt's sitting, and you don't want to get on your brush and go put it back up top. So yeah, just work your way around, work your way to the bottom like this. Okay, clean it. Then you're going to want to bend it if you have one of these, and then you can get behind the spokes like this. That makes it really helpful. I recommend one of these. So just work your way around. Just like that. Okay, and then I get my boar's hair brush. You can use a toothbrush too. This is softer though, so. So that is one wheel, and then rinse it off. On shower. Make sure you get all in there. Sometimes if they're really bad, you're gonna have to go over twice. I did a pretty good job. So then, yeah, do that to all 4 wheels. So now that the wheels are done, we can move on to washing the car. So what you're going to want to do is get 2 buckets. You can reuse the other one, just make sure you clean it out. So make sure you clean every bucket out before you use it. Okay, now get whatever soap you're going to use. Okay, I'm going to use this one. It's Chemical Guys Honeydew Snow Foam Auto Wash. It's made to be used in a snow foam cannon, which is what I'm going to use, but you can also use it in your bucket. So make a mental note of which one's going to be your soap bucket and which one's going to be clean. I have this blue grit guard in my clean water, so I know. So then I'm going to use my soap in the other one. And you only need about 2 ounces. Which one? 2. per 5-gallon bucket. So then, like I said, you want to fill up with water first, and then you want to stir it up like that, and then alright, so this here is my foam cannon gun. So what it is just this bottle, and it's this nozzle. Goes in there, you put soap in here, this hooks up to a pressure washer. This adjusts the spray pattern, and this adjusts the air to soapy water ratio. So I have it on like as much foam as you can get, and then I put it on the widest fan possible. That just produces the best foam. So then what you do is you fill this up to the 30, and then you want to put 2 ounces of your soap in there, or about 2.5. Not doing full pumps here. You have to do it a little bit more concentrated because this foam gun requires a little bit more concentration to get the proper foam. So then, yeah, you screw the cap on like that, and then go out here so I don't make a mess. You just want to stir it up, shake it up, make sure all the soap's off the bottom. Just like that, so it's stirred up. Sit that down and get your pressure washer ready. Alright, so now that you got your pressure washer ready to go, start it up, attach your foam gun. So the car just got a foam bath. The foam bath is better than just spraying it down and using the mitt, because it actually encapsulates all of the dirt particles on the car into the micro bubbles. Like, there's a science to it, and it actually pulls those dirt and protects it, and it adds lubricity. So now when I go with the mitt, I don't have to worry about scratching the paint as much as if I didn't do the foam bath. So that's the reason I did that. So yeah, now I'm gonna wash the car. Alright, so time to get washing. So get your soapy mitt. Okay, always start at the roof, okay? And go forward and backwards, or backwards and forward. I said it backwards. Never go, always go one way or another. So either go across or back to forth. Never do swirls, or circles, because that's what scratches the paint, and so you want to minimize those as much as you can. So always go front to back like this, and go top to bottom. The glass doesn't really matter as much, but like right here, go left to right, straight lines. Never do swirls. So now that I did a pretty good portion, go and rinse your mitt. So might get wet. So yeah, rub it, get all this dirt down, ream it, dunk it in the fresh soap, and go back. So when it gets to a spot like this, the bottom is the dirtiest part because that's where the wheel kicks it at. So I recommend doing like a top half and then leaving this bottom for later, to the very end, because that's where all the dirt is, and that can cause scratches. So yeah, okay, that's that. Now start up your pressure washer and hose it down. Okay, so now if you have somewhere cool, like a garage, I recommend pulling it in there, because I was doing it in the sunlight, like I said you shouldn't, but if you have a garage to pull it into before it can dry, then you can dry it properly. So get your high quality drying towel, and then same as like washing, go forward to backwards or left to right. Never do swirls, because that will induce swirl marks. Okay, so most of the car is dry. So for most people, you could be done. What I like to do is use my blower, put on the blower setting, take out all the filters. And then I like to blow the car. Okay, so finished drying, and then I use my blower to blow it out of the cracks of the car so I don't get drips later, because shows that you do poor work if it drips afterwards in the detailing world. So you want to get them all dry and so there's no drips, because drips can actually produce the water spots still if it dries out in the sun. So yeah, so this car is done. Depending on what you want to do, you can put tire shine on the wheels after. I always do it. It looks way better. Plus the customers expect it. So yep. So the way I showed you, it's the best way to wash your car properly, reduce swirl marks and water spots and any other scratches that you can do. So yeah, so that's the proper way to do it.